We often hear this term used when watching the news, but what is inflation? Inflation is the term we use to describe rising prices of goods and services in an economy, which results in a decrease in purchasing power. How quickly prices go up is called the rate of inflation. But let's make an example to better understand this. Suppose that last year you could buy 100 apples at the price of $1 each at the farmer's market. But this year, the farmer saw a slight price increase on fertilizers and insecticides, on electricity, water and gas, and on taxes. As a consequence, he is forced to increase the price of apples to offset the impact of rising business costs, and decides to sell them for $1.02 each. So now, if you wanted to buy 100 apples, you would have to pay $102 instead of $100. This is a 2% increase in price, or a 2% rate of inflation. The farmer could decide to keep the price of last year to have a competitive advantage, but this wouldn't be sustainable in the long term. There are three types of inflation: demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, and built-in inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when there are not enough products or services being produced to keep up with demand, causing their prices to increase. For example, suppose there are only 100 cars in the whole world, but there are 1,000 people who want to buy that car. The demand for cars is much higher than the supply. This causes the supplier to drastically increase the price until there are only 100 people willing to buy that car. Cost push inflation occurs when the cost of producing products and services rises, forcing businesses to raise their prices. This is the case for the example of the farmer that we talked about at the beginning of this video. Because his costs for producing apples increased, the farmer had to raise his prices as well. Built-in inflation occurs when workers demand higher wages to keep up with rising living costs. This in turn causes businesses to raise their prices in order to offset their rising wage costs, leading to a self-reinforcing loop of wage and price increases. For example, let's suppose there is a business selling cakes that has 4 employees. Each employee has a salary of $1,000 a month, and the cakes are sold at a price of $10 each. Now, if the employees demand a higher salary of $1,500 to offset the rising living costs, the employer will have to increase the cake's prices to offset the increasing cost of labor, which is now $2,000 more than it was before. This creates an infinite loop of wage and price increases. No one likes to see rising living costs, but is inflation actually good or bad? According to economists, both extremes are bad. Too much inflation is bad, and a negative rate of inflation is also bad for the economy. Many economists advocate for a middle ground of low to moderate inflation of around 2% per year. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.